Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is David Brooks, the Cadillac Counselor, coming at you to tell you a little bit that's going on in my mind and things that are going on in the world. There's a lot going on. Make sure you go to CadillacCounselor.com and make sure you get your gear and all the things that I do as Cadillac Counselor, especially in the court systems and just doing criminogenic assessment, things that nobody else is really doing out there. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit the button right there that said the little YouTube. Make sure you hit that. Always comment. I love when you make comments so that I know what's going on in your mind. And make sure you hit the like button just to make it move through the algorithm. We gotta talk. Election 2020. Say what you want to say. My last video that I posted is talking about the racism card in the election. This one is not about that. This is about predators and the super predators. I want people to understand that I am a Democrat by heart, have been, but I don't agree with everything that's going on in the Democratic Party. Do I understand the Republican side? I definitely do. Do I agree with everything on their side? Not always. But I want you to truly understand my heart in this episode. What I'm going to be talking about is what really went on with the presidents in the past and what went on in 2020. In order to do that, we have to go back to the 1990s, late 1980s. Let's start with Reagan. Reagan was a Republican that ultimately was kind of the beginning of the Trump era. He wasn't a politician, he was a celebrity. What did he do? His wife had to just say no. Joke. He created a business within the prison system. If you look at that, he was the one that had the major curve and then brought money into an industry to the state systems, to the local counties, and just to everyone in general. He made criminal incarceration a moneymaker. Don't get me wrong, we know what the 13th Amendment was. We know that slavery always has been an issue within the criminal system because that's the only way that you can be a slave. But let me tell you how the predators come into that. So after the Reagan era, we bumped into the senior of Bush. Now you got to understand, I know Bush because I went underneath him. I don't know him personally, but I lived underneath him. I lived underneath the Bush administration for several years. He was the governor for years, became the president. The little Bush was the governor, but then became the president. So there was 16, 20 years that I lived under there. I remember the whole school, No Child Left Behind, that was a Bush thing. Been in that for a while. But we got to really talk about Bush Sr. What happened with Bush Sr.? He was a Republican. What happened? What happened was the Gulf War. During the Gulf War, we saw that there was really heavy military and there was not a lot of street police. So what happened? I'm going to tell you what happened. Drugs was going crazy. When I say that drugs were going crazy, people were selling drugs like it was legal. Hustling was at an all-time high. People wasn't really doing a lot of crimes per se, like killing each other over turfs, really, because everybody was making money. You could see lines, people were standing in lines in front of houses, police would just drive by. Why did they drive by? Because they were outnumbered. There was no way they were going to take drugs off the street. So let's talk about what happened. Now we got to understand that this manifested out of just not knowing what really was to happen with people that commit crimes or people that use drugs. So then what moved into it? We had a Democrat that wanted to run for president. He knew that he couldn't win just off the Democratic vote. So what did he do? He went law and order. Once he went law and order, he went and did some Nixon stuff for a couple other different people that tried the law and order. And it's all good. Like, we need to feel safe. We need to have our community feel like we can roam around and be who we want to be. I get that. But let's talk about what really happened in 1994. Well, 1993 was when Biden came in with this predator mentality.
That we all have agreed upon. And that is, unless we do something about that cadre of young people, tens of thousands of them, born out of wedlock, without parents, without supervision, without any structure, without any conscience developing, because they literally, I yield myself 3 more minutes, because they literally have not been socialized. They literally have not had an opportunity. We should focus on them now, not out of a liberal instinct for love, brother, and humanity, although I think that's a good instinct, but for simple, pragmatic reasons. If we don't, they will, or a portion of them will, become the predators, will become the predators 15 years from now. And Madam President, we have predators on our streets. Madam President, we have predators on our streets. That society has, in fact, in part because of its neglect, created. Again, it does not mean because we created them that we somehow forgive them or do not take them out of society to protect my family and yours from them. They are beyond the pale, many of those people. Beyond the pale. And it's a sad commentary on society. We have no choice but to take them out of society. We have no choice but to take them out of society. And the truth is, we don't very well know how to rehabilitate them at that point. That's the sad truth.
And once he created this bill with the Texan, they created a bill that kind of handed it over to Bill. Bill signed it. His wife came in, and she came in with the conversation of the super predator.
The challenge is to take back our streets from crime, gangs, and drugs. We have finally gotten more police officers on the street. That was one of the goals that the president had when he pushed the crime bill that was passed in 1994. We need to take these people on. They are often connected to big drug cartels. They are not just gangs of kids anymore. They are often the kinds of kids that are called super predators. No conscience, no empathy. Called super predators. No conscience, no empathy.
At the super predator and this predator mentality, they pretty much said, let's throw people in jail. Let's get them off the street. Let's just get rid of them. It was even to the point when Biden even said, I don't even care why they are in trouble, why they got to this point. It's just we need to get them locked up and we need to get them off the street. What happened? It ruined the family nucleus. For everybody, not just for everybody, but for black people and people of color. Now, we can call it what you want. You can be mad at that, but I'm going to tell you the numbers don't lie. Whenever we look at Reagan started the whole boom. It was about $2.4 billion industry. 2020, it's a $6.5 billion industry. How are we getting that? By incarcerating people. So let's really talk about this super predator mentality. It was pushed as a way of figuring out how we can get people off of the street and make it safe. But is that really what happened? We got to look at really what was going on. During that 1994 bill, the prison rate almost doubled. It had never been doubled that quickly since Reagan. So now we're talking about black people voting Democrat. Why do we vote Democrat? Well, a lot of times people vote Democrat because they're black just because their parents did it or their grandparents did it. Is that right? No, it's not right. But we got to really talk about what's going on. Black people voted Clinton in. Why did they vote him in? Because he was likable. He could talk. He could speak. That's what we do. So then what happens as we speed it up to 2016 and 2020, what did we do? We put two of the super predator and the predator mentality as our front runner. It's almost like looking at trying to pick a crocodile when all you have is alligators to pick from. Eventually you'll start to try to make those alligators look into crocodiles, but they're two different animals. There's something really going on behind the screen and we don't even know. All we do is we vote. We got to truly start looking at where we vote and what happens. Whenever you saw that just say no mentality, what came from that? Did you watch the Cops episode back in like '89 when it first started? All they did was perpetuate the super predator mentality. Then it moves into live PD, all these things, and we make it entertainment. We think it's funny. Crack cocaine, people going to jail, people doing all of this stuff. And what's happening is these people in suburban communities are not living in these types of places that have the cops or all these shows. And what they do is they start voting according to what they see on social media, the things that they read in the news. So the media and the TV, as we start to pump this super predator type of mentality, keep putting it in the newspaper, showing every time that somebody commits a crime, because then we perpetuate the law and order mentality. But let's really talk about what's really going on here. We love to make things entertaining. You look at the opioid crisis. A lot of it kind of started in New York. It started out in Oakland and San Francisco. But if you really look at it closely, the opioid crisis, it started out mainly in everywhere that has ports. You look at Texas. Texas really doesn't have a lot of opiates back in the day. But you know Louisiana? Louisiana didn't have a real problem, but New Orleans did. You go through Mobile, you go all the way around Miami, up the coastline into Virginia, but then you make it into Baltimore. And I want to talk about Baltimore for a second because it's so close to where I live. We made the show The Wire, HBO, made tons of money on it, almost like a Game of Thrones, or maybe like Sopranos. It became entertaining. It wasn't an epidemic at that time. You know what it was? It was entertainment. People laughed, people watched. Every week trying to watch what's going on with The Wire. It was funny. But is it really funny? Whenever it got into the communities and the suburban communities and the people that were affected were the people that make laws, it becomes an epidemic. Money starts getting thrown at it. Everything is now a serious problem. It's always been a serious problem. We keep on electing these people that perpetuate this super predator mentality, but that's all we have to vote for. Democratic Party, we got to really open our eyes and start picking people who can truly understand. Why do we not pick really good people? Because we don't have the funds, we don't have the money. All the people that got money, they can wash away their past. Us, we try to run, everything from our past gets exposed. Our family gets exposed, and they don't want that. People don't want to live through that, so that's the reason why people don't run. So what are we left with? We're left with people that's been politicians all their life, that been used to call people predators and super predators, and now they're saying, forgive me because that's the way I looked and that's the way I lived, but now I don't see it that way. But do they? I don't know, but I want you to make sure that you pay attention to what you're voting for. Make sure that you check your news. Make sure you really read and you do your studying before you vote. Don't vote party. Vote for the issues. Vote for what's really real. I'm just trying to teach you something because that's on my mind. It's the Cadillac Counselor, always coming at you to tell you something brand new. Keep up with my series because we're going to talk about these elections so that you can vote a little bit differently or vote with more confidence next time. Take it easy. Bye.